Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's watch.
Look, I had to talk to her. I had to talk to her. Like, I did not feel right about what was said. No, I'm not gonna let that ride.
That's your explanation? Now, Chelsea wasn't close to them as they were talking, so she could only see body language, which would indicate something different than what he's presenting. We heard the conversation. It was not him confronting her about what she said. So, yeah. It's really eerie, though, because I have a childhood friend that looks exactly like Chelsea. I mean, not exactly, but very, very similar. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Hey, not cool. I didn't propose to you.
Because
we're cool and we're chilling, we're flat. Don't say that shit. Why can't you just...
Like, you have to understand, when you're upset like that, there's no concept in that moment to be like, hey, let me calm down.
When you have a fiance and when you have somebody that you love, that you care about, yeah, there is a concept of that now. You have to think about...
Yeah, so she's in the right. She's just, this is okay for her to do. It's not unethical. But as I've been saying in other videos, what I recommend, at least people consider, is case by case. Instead of trying to point out something that's really quite obvious to someone, I would maybe take some different directions. Like, one direction she could take is like, okay, so you're contending that when you went over there, the entire conversation was you confronting her about making a tasteless joke, a mean joke. That's your statement. That's what you're telling me. And then he's like, yeah. And then she could say, well, it did not look that way. And I could be wrong, but you were over there for 20 plus minutes, maybe a half an hour. There was a lot of what looked like flirting, not only from her, but from you. And the fact that you didn't even consider my feelings or you didn't even know I left is hurtful and worrisome about our relationship. Again, I'm open to being refuted here if you could convince me, but to just claim that you went over there and said that, it's just hard for me to imagine that that's the full truth. You know, something like that. Or another angle is just like, hey, look, this relationship is very new. If you have confused feelings, I would understand. You did propose to her first, so it would be understandable. It wouldn't be what I want, but if that's what's happening, like, let me know. It'll devastate me. I'm already mildly devastated, but, you know, where are you? I guess, that's another angle. Instead of telling him that's inappropriate, that's against the rules.
The actions are affecting not only you, but me.
It wasn't my intention to belittle anything about what we have. But like, if that ever happens, like, you have to know that there's serious reason and intent behind what I'm doing.
No. It should never happen.
Yeah. Normally I would be concerned that Chelsea is maybe pushing him away or something, but I don't know, given what we saw, the acceleration of the end of this relationship might be a good thing for everybody. But I don't know, this show often surprises me, so who knows.
You guys were laughing. Like, this wasn't, hey, I'm unhappy with this.
Yes, when I started addressing it, we laughed a little bit. Once we got past the border of, yo, that was fucked up, and we got the apologies in.
Then it's over. Then it's over. It's done. Conversation needs, it's done.
Okay, all right, so just walk away, get up and walk away. Conversation's over now.
Yes, it doesn't need to go on.
A tip to everyone, if you can, eventually return to, maybe in the moment it's hard to think straight, but I would recommend considering those other things I was offering. It's hard to know case by case. So say there's a world where Kwame and Chelsea have a chance, and Kwame had a temporary lapse of reason, maybe alcohol wasn't, of course we know some alcohol was involved, and that'll happen. One of the things that is known, not necessarily scientifically, but anecdotally, is our mind, our neurological pathways in our brain develop habits. And in the beginning of a relationship, so when you first commit to someone, well, another way of putting it is if you commit to someone and you've been committed, exclusively to someone for 10 years, if everything's going relatively well, it is very habitual and it's hard to think outside of that commitment. Whereas in the first few days of a commitment, you have a lot of habits prior to being committed that are still in play. So it's possible that you might, upon making a commitment to Chelsea, there might be certain patterns of behavior that are indicative of a single person that you're used to being able to do, and you don't red flag it to yourself. If they were married for 5 years and there was an opportunity for an interaction like that with Micah, one way of looking at it is Kwame would have felt something was off in the moment, be like, oh, I need to do something. Whereas it's possible that Kwame might have been single for a long time prior to this, and so he just feels like, well, this is what you do. You have the freedom to be able to talk to someone. He's not used to thinking about how this will affect Chelsea. So that's one world, and if that's true, then I would really hope that they could actually communicate in this moment so they'd be able to understand each other. She's way more in the right than he is. He's claiming something that is clearly not accurate. There's no way you could interpret, especially since we have the benefit of hearing what they said. There is no possible way you would interpret that as him confronting her about what she said. He barely confronted her. She derailed him very quickly, Micah, and he went along with it. That was clear. So for him to claim that is either he forgot. I mean, again, lots of alcohol, he could literally have browned out certain elements of that. It'd be hard to imagine that's true. It's much more likely that he is having confused feelings and he doesn't know what to do and he is going into denial. Maybe he actually literally believes this, or he is just trying to get out of this somehow. I don't know.
I knew this was about to happen. Like the way you guys ended, the way, you stormed out.
We were in it for days. And you know what that feels like. Being in the pods was like every single day felt like a week or a month. Like you were genuinely getting deep as fuck with somebody. And then all of a sudden, no, okay, just want to let you.
Okay, that is a factor. How about you try to empathize? You can use that as a factor in an apology. You say, I committed a transgression. I was wrong, and I'm sorry, and I put you through something, and that's wrong. I didn't intend on doing that, but I was wrong. It's not what I want to do with our relationship. Let me tell you a factor. I really, really connected with her, and so when I see her, I still have that remnant of feelings. I don't want to be with her. I want to be with you. But that's one of the reasons why I made that mistake. It doesn't excuse me, but it does play into why that happened. Okay, he could say that, but that's not what he's doing. He's not apologizing, or at least they edited it out. He's just saying, look, deal with it.
Like how the f*** you do that? We had no closure.
I guess I just don't understand why you didn't do that night.
I overreacted. Closure is good. Closure is a good thing. Closure is a great thing, baby.
Maybe it was closure. It looked like opener, not closure. Did it not?
Did you feel like you got closure tonight with her?
Not fully, but enough.
Oh my God.
Baby.
It's a great question. Understandable reaction. Now, if he's really committed and he really sees the situation, then he could say, I want to be with you and I'm sorry. And I feel like I need to have another conversation. I'm not going to have it like I did earlier today. I just feel like I need to get some things off my chest with her or something. I don't know. It'd be hard to imagine that would be true given the way we saw the conversation. I think what's happening is he wants to be with Micah or wants to keep that option open or something. And he is at least being honest that he's not over it and that he, by implication, needs to talk with Micah one-on-one more. And yeah, it would be concerning to her, hurtful, really concerning and hurtful.
Hey.
Not fully? What would have been fully? Testing the waters, making out with her?
I'm telling you, I got what I needed. I said I've got enough.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Hey, I'm good.
I don't get it.
So closure is a topic that we can talk about briefly. It is a non-clinical term. It could be loosely defined as having psychological completion of something, being able to process something fully. It no longer plagues you. it would be unusual if Kwame was experiencing closure. Now, I think the two of them, what they're talking about is, do you still need to interact with her? And that is, I think, what they're talking about. Chelsea's interpreting that way. It's like, so you need to make out with her in order to have closure? I mean, because that's where this is headed. And I think that's a valid question. So I would... so this is another tip, that when you're having an argument in particular, is to define things with people. I really dislike conversations when people are not clearly defining the concepts that they're throwing out there. So if I were Chelsea, I'd say, oh, wait, okay, what do you mean by closure? What are you talking about? What's your plan? What do you want? Do you want to be with me? What's your plan here? Because it might reveal something. For him, he might say, like, because he's certainly not exhibiting behavior that we saw earlier in the day when he was very expressive about how much he loves Chelsea. He is making excuses, he's trying to deflect, but what he's not doing is fighting for Chelsea. It seems clear, right? Now, he could be confused, it happens. He could be wanting to fight for Chelsea, but not feeling it and doesn't realize it yet. Sometimes our mind and body and soul heads in a direction before we notice it is happening, so it could be that. But I feel bad for Chelsea.
I'm good. I'm good exactly where I'm at.
Would you have rather been with her?
No. Not for a second. I'm right where I need to be. Like, right where I need to be. And I don't doubt that for a moment.
Maybe. It didn't look that way. And Chelsea's being very healthy. I think she seems to not express emotion a lot. The thing is if the relationship were different, then I would say that she would be safe to exhibit emotion like hurt and crying. It's just like, it just hurts to watch that. It hurts to have my fiance do that. I'm not saying you did anything horrible, but it hurts. It hurts to watch you having a moment with someone else. And maybe it was closure, maybe it wasn't, but it just hurts, and I'm terrified of losing you. She's not saying that. She's not exhibiting that. I'm quite positive, or I don't know, 99% sure that that's where this is all coming from, because of course, why wouldn't she have those feelings? And in a normal situation, if you exhibit those feelings, it might help your partner to change their behavior. You know, it's much more effective in a relationship if you can just say, ouch, that hurts my feelings, and then the other person's compassion is involved, and then they voluntarily try to fix the situation, as opposed to you feel the hurt, but then you control and the other person obeys. That's not a viable, or it's not a healthy, conducive model for growth. And so she's doing more of the latter, but I don't know if this relationship is safe for her in terms of her emotions and her heart.
I can guarantee you that I would not have even marginally as good a connection.
Then let it go. Let it fucking go, Kwame. Walk away into the life that you're gonna have.
Yeah, good on Chelsea. I mean, that is a wise thing to say. It does put a fine point on it. Just like, stop playing games with yourself. If it's true that you don't see a connection with her and you do with me, then stop messing with it. Stop taking the risk.
You know, I woke up this morning feeling not so great about last night, you know?
In what way?
Feeling like I could have done a lot better in that situation. I'm sorry about anything that went down, and if it made you feel any way, deprioritizing that situation. Like, that was really selfish of me.
Okay, as far as apologies goes, that's great. I don't know how she receives it, but it is, seems sincere and is acknowledging how it affected her. It's not blaming her, it's taking responsibility, so it's good. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.